Okay. Good morning once again, friends. And this is still Journey Home Meditations Morning Sit, live from the Beside Meditation Hall in Cave Junction, Oregon. We had a little bit of a programming issue this morning, but we have it set now, I believe. So I'm happy to be here with you today for some shared breath work and some poetry and some contemplation. And we're going to go in that order. I've already said this once today, but I don't know if I was actually broadcasting, but that's okay. I've been doing this broadcast for 4 years, and there's about 300 or so hours of these shared morning meditations available on different platforms online. And even still, there are basic technical difficulties that occur regularly. And it's actually good. I like having the ability to make mistakes. I appreciate it very much. Because for a lot of my life, I didn't feel I was allowed to make a mistake. And I would I would be defensive if I did make a mistake, and oftentimes. And other times I would not even attempt to do something unless I thought I could do it perfectly. And that level of perfectionism was just another way that I could excuse my belief of low self-worth. I had a belief of low self-value, right? Low self-worth. And I used perfectionism, this idea that I have to do it perfect, as an excuse to continue to feel that I'm not worth as much, because you can't ever be perfect. You can't do it the way that your mind envisions that when you have this perfectionism, that you have to do it to be loved. And this is really what it comes down to. That if I don't achieve this in this way, I'm not going to be as lovable or remarkable, or I'm not going to be welcomed into people's hearts. And for whatever reason, abandonment mostly, probably, feelings or beliefs of abandonment and rejection, and taking those things personally as a child, because of course that's what you do as a child. It's very personal. But because of those beliefs, I think that I patterned my life for a long time in this fear and punishment cycle. Fear of failing and punishment when I didn't achieve perfection. That's a whole lot to come up for just first few minutes of a morning meditation, huh? You can bill me. I'll pay for the therapy. At the current rates of therapy, I think that was probably $40 or $50 worth of therapy moments. So just bill me. I'll I'll have my people call your people. But the mistakes that I make now with the work that I'm doing, not the work that I've done, it's the work that I continue to do, because this continues to come up. There's one right there. Mistakes now are moments of being able to appreciate and have gratitude that I'm not beating myself up, that I am becoming my friend. And that's a big step. And I love it. I'm so very pleased that I'm coming to a place in my life to do that. We hear the phrase often, I'm my own worst enemy. And you hear that a lot in recovery, in the recovery rooms, or just reading the literature or listening to people share their stories. A lot of times it does root itself into this place of believing ourselves to be failures or to have somehow be flawed. It comes back maybe to that original sin concept that the church has propagated for hundreds of years as a way maybe to keep people under control, but I don't know why it's been propagated. I just know that it works. I just know that for years it has worked to keep me in a certain mindset and belief that I was no good. But that doesn't work anymore. It doesn't work anymore because I've been able to work through those fears of abandonment and rejection just enough to release my need for perfection. And so I can now begin to shift the I am my own worst enemy into I am my own best friend. I'm with me all the time. And now I say kind things to myself more often than not. And it's nice. If you're going to live with someone for the rest of your life, every moment, wouldn't you want that person to be kind? I ask people all the time, if you had a roommate that talked to you the way you speak to yourself, how would you handle that situation? You'd probably ask them to leave. And this is what we are doing when we speak to ourselves in those detrimental, negative, and angry ways. We choose to leave. So we learn how to dissociate. And we use the tools of dissociation. Alcohol, drugs, cigarettes, sex, food, money, prestige, all of these ways in which we can be something other than who I am all the time. And we can, disappear into our phones, scrolling, or into television shows, or into mala beads and spiritual robes. Yeah. Spirituality can become just as large of a hiding place as any other addiction. But when you can start to transition into becoming friends with yourself, to loving yourself, to enjoying being with yourself, you don't have to leave yourself any longer. And here is the big one. If you have a fear of abandonment, stop leaving yourself. Stop abandoning yourself, and you will lose your fear of abandonment. It's amazing. It's amazing how we can provide that. And this isn't to say that this practice, even that practice of learning to love yourself, is something you do alone. I did not. You cannot. Trying to learn how to love yourself by yourself is like trying to learn how to swim when you are already drowning. There's a good chance you're not going to do it. There's a good chance you're not going to make it out of that one. And you're just going to kick and scream and paddle and exhaust yourself until you finally give up. But when you can reach those hands out and ask for help and get pulled out of the water of isolation, pulled out of that waters of individualism, and recognize that we are here together for a really good reason. And you can rely upon others, and you can learn how to trust others, and you can learn how to listen to others and hold space for the pain of others, and you can learn how to care for others, then it's really a simple shift into I am also that. So then I can hold space for my pain. Then I can hold space for my joy. Then I can forgive myself for trying to run away from myself and abandoning myself. And then my fear of abandonment diminishes. The pain of abandonment diminishes. So, yeah, thanks for the mistake this morning. I forgot to type in a few numbers into a computer, and it opened up this whole place inside of me. I'm very grateful. Thanks for listening to that. Let's have a few breaths together. How about that? Let's find that place where you can hold your body with the least amount of stress or strain and facilitate that breath, and just start to feel what it is to be breathing into your body. This is reassociating with your body. Feel the feeling in the back of your neck as you breathe in. Feel that tightness in your lower back as you breathe out and your body begin to contract. Breathing in through the nose, if you can, to the bottom of the belly, expanding the abdomen, not trying to breathe deeply and suck in all of the air all at once. You're going to get there. There's plenty of air to breathe. Just take your time. Breathe gently, softly, and just as much as you need. And let's have 3 solid, uninterrupted breaths. And breathing in. Thank you for that practice. Yeah, that thing about if you want to stop having a fear of abandonment that kind of controls your actions and relationships, stop abandoning yourself. That's a big one. And I think that that shows up in all of these different ways. It can show up in the beginnings of relationships. And when I say relationships, I want to be clear that I'm not only talking about romantic relationships. I'm talking about the relationship with our families, our friends, our coworkers, strangers we meet, colleagues in the work that we do, whatever it is. The abandonment can begin before you even begin the relationship. Because of your fear of abandonment, you might latch on to a certain way of being because you have a belief that that's the preferable way to be for people to love you. So already you begin on these notes of the people talk about having imposter syndrome. And I think that that's where this comes from, is when we try to hold ourselves in a way that we're not facilitating the breath. We're not relaxed and we're not comfortable. And sometimes that's okay. I mean, it's always okay, inevitably, but sometimes we do that for really good reasons. Sometimes we do that. For instance, when we don certain ceremonial clothing and participate in ritual practice, ceremonial practice of some sort, and you walk through the steps, you might not necessarily be 100% on board in your heart in that moment. You're just doing the necessary steps to participate in the ceremony. But at some point, those steps are the pathway into your release, your surrender into the ceremony. So it's not to be taken as a bad thing that we have these somewhat contrived things. For instance, the way that we do have levels of small talk as a way to introduce ourselves. Hello, how are you? Oh, good. I'm good too. Yeah. Okay. But that's done. That's out of the way now. We could focus on how trite that is and how superficial, or we could just say the 4 or 5 words and move on. It's done. It's out of the way. It's not a big deal. Those pleasantries can actually be a way to be able to establish a small connection with someone. And that's okay. But when we move into maintaining this sort of falsehood because we are worried about abandonment, we've already begun to abandon ourselves. We've already started there. So that's one place where that can happen. But another place is when we start to have fears that a person may not be as interested in us as we had hoped, or when a person may be hurt by something that we've done. We abandon ourselves when we lose the trust in our own self to be okay with that. When I start to believe I'm not going to be okay with this, I'm going to freak out. And then there's a part of me that goes, well, good luck with that. I'm out. I'm out. And you stop having trust in yourself and to be able to say, hey, you know what? This is okay. This is all right. This isn't about me. If this person is feeling this way, let them feel that way. It's okay. You don't have to stop someone from feeling how they feel just to seemingly protect yourself. You don't need to do that. You are fine. And that's the shift from abandoning yourself to not. So it's interesting how all of this comes up from making a simple mistake on the computer this morning, because I had some things I wanted to talk about. But interestingly enough, I think that these things all kind of flow together. So I wanted to play today some audio from Andrea Gibson talking about counterintuitive mental health tips. One of them is not, I don't believe, if you have a fear of abandonment, stop abandoning yourself, but it very well could be, because it's going to fit aligned with these things. So I want to play these for you now. It's brief, but very helpful. I actually shared them yesterday in the post related to yesterday's morning sit. So you may have seen that if you read the Substack. if you're listening to this or viewing this somewhere other than Substack, Substack is sort of the new digital home of Journey Home Meditation, and we post our live feed there. We live stream through Substack, as well as posting blog posts and notes and whatnot. So come check us out over there. It's free. You can choose to have a paid membership if you'd like, but you don't need to. You access all the same things. And I do appreciate the paid memberships. I do appreciate, the small subscriptions help me pay for all of the other subscriptions it requires to do this program. But at any rate, this is Andrew Gibson.
5 counterintuitive mental health tips that changed my life. 1, if you want to feel less fear, if you want less anxiety, stop trying to keep yourself safe. Stop chronically trying to protect yourself. 2, if you want to be happier, wholeheartedly welcome your grief. 3, if you feel like your life is lacking something, if you're struggling to feel abundant, put your attention on what you have to give. 4, if you're feeling out of control, stop trying to control things. And finally, 5, what was 5? Oh, if you're struggling to feel loved, if you're feeling unloved, love. Just love, 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 love.
Love, 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 love. I really like the counterintuitiveness of these things because the intuition that we have is oftentimes just wrong, because it is an intuition based upon what we've learned about our pain. And pain as a teacher can be really thorough. And the lessons that we take on, they can be very different. For instance, our pain may teach us to, like the first one that Andrea spoke, if you are feeling a lot of fear or anxiety, insecurity, stop being so defensive. Stop trying to be so safe. Keep yourself safe, because that means we're closed down and we're protected. And when we are protecting ourselves, every little thing that gets in feels like it's a violation, right? You have pierced my armor. I am now vulnerable in a way that I don't like because I was trying to be defensive against that. Fear taught that person who's behaving in that way that you need to protect yourself greatly. And do you? Yes, probably. But what is also true is when we become defensive without it being necessary, then we also keep out the things that we need. We keep out those things that we need. Walls don't discriminate in what they keep out. So that fear taught you that, or that fear could also, that pain, taught you that. That pain could also teach you, when you have pain of a broken heart or pain of somebody hurting your feelings, it could teach you a great empathy and a great compassion. And the lesson that you take away is dependent upon how you are able to process the pain that you feel. And people that have, as a young child, been forced to process on their own tend to become defensive, because that's the only way that we can learn how to protect ourselves. People that feel protected by the people in their lives, caregivers, friends, elders, community, they tend to learn the lesson of compassion and say, I am safe. Other people are holding me. I can heal from those wounds, so the wounds aren't that bad. The pain hurts, but it's okay. Now I can have compassion. And it's not to say that you can't have compassion if you are also protective. You probably have a lot of empathy, which is another reason that you're so protective. But understanding that the reason that I have the behavior that I have is based upon the tools that I had at the time when I was injured, the original injury, how did it get healed? How did it get processed? Who was there to help me through this? What did I learn from that? You either learn protection and comfort and safety, or you learn isolation and fend for yourself. And there's a huge spectrum in between. Huge. You can learn both of those things in the same relationship. This isn't black and white work. This isn't yes and no dichotomous work. It's yes and. This is all yes and. The name of the sit this morning, when I have to do the key, I put in a name, and I think it says Finding the Volta. I just learned what a Volta is. I was listening to Padraig Otuma talk about a poem that had many turning points. It would say this, this, and this, but also this, or this, and this, and yet this, this. The but, that turning point, that thing that flips it over, that's a volta. I never knew that. And so I'm really enjoying using that word in my thoughts. Finding the volta. And that turning point, that's really important, because it recognizes the truth of two things that seem to be in opposition. Do I contradict myself? Very well, I contradict myself. I am large. I contain multitudes. I've quoted that probably 30, 40 times on this morning sit, and I will continue to quote it for the rest of my life, because that lesson from Walt Whitman has stuck with me since I was a child watching Robin Williams teach a class full of students poetry. What was I? 9, 10 years old, and 35, 36 years later, I'm teaching a class full of students poetry. Thank you, Robin Williams. Thank you, Walt Whitman. Thank you for these experiences. But at any rate, that way of understanding that if you are struggling with not wanting to feel this thing that you're feeling, feeling it as the medicine for that is so counterintuitive, but absolutely what I am finding to be the best way in. It's what's there for us. Today's poem that I want to share, we're not going to do Appalachian Elegy once again today. We're going to start again on Appalachian Elegy next week, I think. So we have not abandoned the bell hook's magic, but this poem was posted this morning on Instagram by a person whom I love dearly. This was from a book that Angela made as a gift. Not just for me, it was for her also. It was a gift that was made at a time in our lives when there was a lot of change happening, a lot of love, a lot of pain, a lot of digging up old pain and wounds and grief and confronting that and sitting with it. And this poem is part of the book that she made for me. It's beautiful. Hello, grief. I've gathered you a bouquet of stories. Some dug up, some plucked, some with dangling roots, earth still clinging to the tendrils. Wow. So beautiful. 8 lines. I want to read it again. Hello, grief. I've gathered you a bouquet of stories. Some dug up, some plucked, some with dangling roots, earth still clinging to the tendrils. Hearing the poem is one thing, but seeing the structure of the poem is another, so I'll walk through some of it. The line breaks. Hello, grief is its own line. I've gathered you is a line, a bouquet of stories. Now, there's different ways to read those second and third line. I've gathered you a bouquet of stories. But that line break says that when you're saying hello to grief, is she saying, hello, grief, I've gathered you a bouquet of stories. Grief is the bouquet of stories. Or is the poet welcoming grief and saying, look, grief, I've gathered you a bouquet of stories. These are for you. But then the poet, she goes into the ways in which these stories are acquired. Some dug up. Some we have to seek out and find. Stories of our family's history, for instance, things that we've buried, that we've long forgotten. Those stories, they get dug up. Some plucked. What we take away, when I think of plucking, I think of maybe being on a walk and seeing, today I noticed the chicory is really out. I believe it's chicory. These beautiful purplish blue flowers, just like these shining, the irises of the earth. It's just like coming out, these beautiful blue eyes popping up everywhere. And I picture just walking and reaching down and just plucking one, bringing it to your face and smelling. It's this casual, almost sneaky kind of action to pluck a flower. So those stories that we pluck, the things that we take away without a lot of to do, just take that story, keep that in my bouquet. And then some with dangling roots, line break. Earth still clinging, line break, to the tendrils. Some with dangling roots, these things that have been uprooted, yanked out, not as intentional necessarily as being dug up, not as purposeful and careful, not as lighthearted and casual as plucking them, but these things that have been pulled out, just yanked out of their place. Earth still clinging. That's the line. It's beautiful. You picture this, these clods of dirt on the tendrils, but the poet didn't say dirt still clinging. The poet said earth. Earth being this thing that held everything, and it's still pieces of it there, still remnants, still clinging to the tendrils, these tiny little fingers just grasping things that feed and things that hold. And I think about grief in that way. And it's just a beautiful poem, Angela. It's just a beautiful poem. So thanks for that gift. Hello, grief. I've gathered you a bouquet of stories, some dug up, some plucked, some with dangling roots, earth still clinging to the tendrils. All right, everybody. I think then that'll be it. If you want to read those poems, you could find Angela's Instagram at Remembering Wildness. I believe it's just at Remembering Wildness. I don't know how Instagram works, but if you look up Remembering Wildness, all one word, not wilderness, wildness, you can read those poems, see some of her photographs and her art, and get welcomed into the amazing and beautiful world of Angela Franklin, death midwife and lover of folk magic, folk art, folklore, folk medicine, folk music. Go folk yourself, people. Okay, that's about enough from me today. Thanks so much for being here. Reach out. Please find a way to take the time to interact with these posts, whether it's on YouTube or Substack. Join this conversation. Leave a message, comment, tell a bit of your story, ask a question, like the post if you enjoyed the sit, share the post. These interactions are helpful in us finding more people that want to participate in these practices. And I do this work every day for 4 years plus now, because I do believe that this work is a way that we can bring more healing into our relationships. I believe in it. I also practice it. So even if I didn't believe in it, I still show up for it and I'm devoted to it. I would really appreciate taking just a moment to interact with the post. I know it's easy to become jaded in this world of social media, but this is the way the algorithms work. And I'd really like the people who want to participate to learn that this is here so we can start sharing with one another and moving our communications and our connections into a deeper and greater place. So thanks for being here. I appreciate it very much. Adios.